reflecting on the season and specifically the trade deadline, I don't know. We talked about it a lot at the time and felt this way and made this point. We've had these conversations many times in different situations. I just don't think it sounds the way I think maybe Beane's instinct would like it to.
Right. You felt like that, was it Tom Pelissero that had the details on Waddle, right? They wanted a 26 first rounder. The Bills offered a 27 first rounder, and that's why that trade didn't get made. That's the way that got reported, basically. And you felt that that was the Bills trying to make themselves look good, and I get that. I always push back on it. Like, I don't want to believe that they're that wrong about something like that, that they think that helps, that Beane thinks that makes him look good. Because to me, it absolutely does not. You do not get credit in pro sports for trying to do a thing, especially when you drew attention to it yourself the way he did. Like, I was not going to give him any credit at all for almost trading for Jalen Waddle or anyone else for that matter. And I thought it was a bad look for them. But the continuing reference of it sort of leads me to your instincts were right, that it was them. They thought it would help them in the court of public opinion. And I don't know, maybe it did. Maybe some fans went like, well, I mean, what else can he do? He can't make them trade a guy to them, which is, factually correct.
I didn't hear a lot of that, though.
Yeah, me either. But I don't know. I don't want to be in a bubble and think everybody viewed it the way I did. I just know I felt very strongly that, dude, your instincts are off here because this does not help you. But they're still out there telling those stories.
Well,
and so
maybe in his defense, in this case, like talking about it after the season's over, unlike leaking it then, he can just be answering honestly.
That is different now than it was back in October. I agree.
And like if that's what happened, then that's what happened, and he doesn't have to have sort of a motive to try to spin. He can just be like, well, this is what we tried to do, and it didn't work out. But I mean, this is like Kevin Adams, how Adams got into a bad place from basically sounding like he was pleading with the fans to understand his challenges. And I think most people would understand them, but don't care.
Right, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
right.
Who wants to hear it? And if you can't execute in the job and you think it's because it's just unfairly hard, I'm going to get somebody else who's going to try.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it, let alone the guys on your own team. That was always my big point about Adams with the guys on the team. Like you're basically telling them you can't get guys to come here. Like, how does that make them feel about having signed for 5 years or 7 years or whatever it is that they've signed for? You're creating a situation where they might feel like they're captive, and that's not where you want to live. And yeah, Beane, is Josh Allen supposed to go, oh, good try, boss? Or, again, not to put words in Josh Allen's mouth, but like the guys on the team, I don't think want to really hear that you almost got a player that could have helped them win the Super Bowl. I don't know. It just doesn't really wash with me. But you're right. It's a good point. It is different now. Like you're sort of telling the story of the season, and that's different than in the moment. In the moment really bothered me.
It just doesn't have to be spin.
Because, right.
Most people would spin, but they're going to want you to know your version of it. And, you're not going to be like, I totally screwed up. Like, they're not going to talk like that. Yeah. But it can be true, right? Like
it can be, but the whole, I don't know, man. Like the whole thing, like all of it. The trade deadline, the parting of the ways that we sort of could forecast happening, like the split that seemed to be happening during the year between McDermott and Beane. And then, of course, it ends. The unceremonious firing, just not handled well. All of it, in total, still leaves me like, I don't know how much I trust their instincts, their ability to make the right calls, to read any situation, because that's why it bothers me that back in the fall he might have thought it would help him to tell Tom Pelissero we almost got Jalen Waddle. That's not good instincts to me. That's not good managing a situation, and you're in charge of the whole kingdom now. And that's a lot for someone who I'm going to say, like, his judgment, at least in that situation, I think is up to be questioned.
Well, what does the future look like then? Because, it's been, your head is spinning from all the different places the Bills at wide receiver have taken you in the last 2 years, or back to Diggs, whatever the starting point is. They wanted a number one. They trade for Diggs. They win like crazy. He's great. They get tired of him. He's gone. Well, we don't really need that. So we're going to have a committee approach to wide receiver. But we're signing guys all the time, but we like our guys, but we would love to have Jalen Waddle, but, where are they, or where is Beane, I guess, specifically on the position? It might be, you could answer the question almost any way you want. I mean, if he really did try to get a big fish at the deadline, Waddle would count. Mm-hmm. Then that tells you a lot. And I don't know that why would he make it up? I probably want to believe that he made that effort. But they did score almost 30 points a game again. They fired their coach, who was known for his ability to coach defense, among other things. They promoted the offensive coordinator to the position. Are we sure they want to, seriously augment receiver this offseason? Can they? Or is it fine to them the way it was and is?
Yeah, I don't want to assume anything here, and not just because it promotes more speculation and therefore conversation. The fact that he tried, or at least we believe he tried. He's saying again, he was close to a couple other things and they couldn't, whatever. I think he's talking about Waddle in the clip we just played, without naming any names. It's a team in the division. I mean, okay, New England didn't have a receiver. And I guess you could have been talking to the Jets about Garrett Wilson. Anyway, never heard anything about that.
And he was hurt.
Yeah, right. So, but I don't know. I wouldn't assume one or the other, that they think they can just keep going along the way with everything eats. The trying to get a guy the caliber of Waddle, or I heard something about Brian Thomas Jr. around the same time. I never heard Tom Pelissero reporting that, so that just sort of gets left behind. Tells you that he wanted to go big at the position. Those are players that either have or will have big contracts in the future. Waddle already has one. Brian Thomas Jr., probably if you're trading a first-round pick for him as part of the package to acquire him, you're thinking you're going to sign him when it's time. He's only finished year 2 of his rookie contract, so you got some time there. So maybe it's not a slam dunk. But either way, you went big game hunting. That should lead you to, well, they're going to try to finish that this during the spring. They're going to try to find that guy some way, somehow, whether that's free agency, whether that's a trade, whatever it is. But the fact that he tried to do it in the fall and couldn't tells you that he could try again and still not get the fish into the boat. So I don't assume that they're going to make that. I think they'll try, but I'm not sure that they'll get somebody. I guess so. The big morsel there probably is, I'm convinced they'll try again to get somebody significant. I don't think they'll go into a year with what are we talking about? It's Palmer contractually, Shakir, Coleman, reclamation project time for Coleman going into year 3 of his career. And that's it. Shavers has got an ACL injury. Davis has an ACL injury from the playoffs.
Cooks is a free agent.
You could maybe do that, but you probably need 3 guys just for your rotation. That's not to say who's going to play the most, but obviously if you get a player the caliber of Jalen Waddle, he's, I assume, going to play 80% of the snaps.
I guess who knows what they'll tell us or what they'll do. But I guess I want my prediction to be that they will again continue as the team they've been under Brady, which is James Cook, right? And Allen's great, but we want that particular part of our identity to come out, and we don't feel like we have to have a wide receiver one that everybody agrees on. I mean, Brady kind of phased out Diggs when he was here. So do they go looking for someone like that? I guess I would bet against it. Also because it's hard to do it. I mean, give Beane credit for Diggs. Like, he pulled that off. Not everybody makes that trade. He traded a one for Diggs, and more. So it's hard to do it anyway. And I've relied on this for 2 years, trying to imagine what their offensive approach will be. And I think I've been right, which is that they're going to try to live this way. And why would you promote your offensive coordinator if you really wanted to stray from that? Unless you think Sean McDermott had him under his thumb and just sort of forced it on Brady. I really don't. I mean, there's got to be some of that. So he was the boss, but I want to think that Brady's philosophy on offense has come out in these 2+ years, because it's weird if it hasn't. And they've been so successful. Is that despite him? Like, I doubt you promote him if you think it's despite him.
It's definitely not. I'm sure that's not the way they're viewing it, and I wouldn't either. I do wonder, though. He's the offensive coordinator, right, from week 11 of the season to the end. They make the decision to divest themselves of Diggs, and he's still the offensive coordinator, so he's got to make it work. Like, his job is to make that work. So I don't take that to mean that I know he doesn't want a number one receiver. What I know is he didn't have one, and he acted accordingly. They had a strong offensive line. They had Cook, and they leaned into that, and that probably suited his boss to some degree, like having the flex of having this running game, and it certainly suited them. I mean, they won a lot of football games because they had that run game. I've said it time and again. The Chiefs, who have been like floundering offensively, never developed one, and they missed the playoffs by 4 games. So it was to their benefit to have it, but I don't assume that Brady would not welcome and even want a top shelf talent at the position. Because I think a lot of what he does do, not so much the leaning into the run game, I think that was called for almost philosophically because of the way the league was reacting defensively. And I always kind of gave them credit for being ahead of the curve on that to some extent. Like they got there pretty early, that the big stuff down the field isn't working regardless of the personnel we have. Like, let's try something else. And they did, and it worked. But I'd like to see him with a Waddle or a Brian Thomas Jr. or, I don't know, some other big name, big ticket wide receiver, and see how that works in concert with having this run game that I hope, I'd assume you can reasonably keep on track if you switch out a couple of linemen, which they may have to do.
Good luck pulling it off. I mean, it does happen. It happened with Diggs when he came here, and you might need a player who's disgruntled for it to be even possible, because who's giving away those players? But, Thomas had a down year. Maybe they want to be done with him, but they're also really good, and he might be do you want to sell low on him if you're Jacksonville? Like, I don't know. I don't think I do.
Any reason that, that's a good point, but any reason they might have been shopping him in the fall is still going to – I mean, they've committed to Jacoby Myers now, who they got at the trade deadline. I don't think they knew if they were – maybe they thought they could swap Myers in and not miss a beat, and that kind of happened. But now they've committed to him financially. They've got Hunter, who missed a lot of the year with an injury. And so I wonder, like, if they feel like they have a long-range future with Brian Thomas Jr.
It's interesting. Parker Washington was good.
One other reason I think I want to squeeze in here while we're on the subject, not that we won't revisit it 1,500 times between now and September.
I should make a tally.
But it's top of mind right now. One reason I like them to go big game hunting at receiver is I think Beane does care about how he is perceived. I don't know if you read the latest piece from Tyler Dunne, but like the money quote in there that Tyler screenshotted around on social media with the curse words in it about how Beane saying how much like I know the moving company's coming to my house if I miss on this or that. Like I don't care about the outside noise. I feel like the man or woman, anyone in sports or anything for that matter, that tells you how much they loudly and with curse words to enhance it want to make sure you know they don't care about the outside noise.
Means they
that
do.
person is usually, I don't want to say obsessed with it, but they're paying attention to the outside noise.
And I think
a lot.
I think Beane gives that away. Not that he would deny it necessarily, but I think he gives that away, like the press conference with Brady, referencing sort of random things that, some people say this, some people say this. So I think there's no question about that. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550, back after this time.